Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the balance of my time.
Gentleman's
My
recognized.
friend ticked through the impressive list of accomplishments of the last Congress. He forgot to mention Democrats also added $10 trillion. $10 trillion to the projected debt the United States will have to deal with over the next 10 years. Now, what $10 trillion is a lot of money, but worse than the money was the inflation that they unleashed by their reckless spending. You care about Americans, then you don't push the price up of gasoline, of home heating, of interest rates on their any purchase they make, what they pay at the grocery store. My friends managed to unleash the worst bout of inflation in 40 years. I look around this chamber, I'm probably the only guy on the floor, Mr. Speaker, that can actually remember that. This was an unprecedented disaster that they unleashed on the country. Everything in the bill that we fought for, the things that are there and the things that aren't there, were to lower the excess spending and to try and tame inflation. My friends act as if it doesn't exist. Well, I guarantee you, just go to the grocery store. Ask any American who hasn't gotten a 15 or 20% raise what their life has been like in the last 2 years. So, Mr. Speaker, in closing, I urge all my colleagues to support this resolution. With today's bill, we're putting forward common-sense reforms that will save taxpayers money while also preventing an economic crisis. And the reforms included in this bill are historic. The first year-over-year cut in spending in a debt ceiling bill, the largest rescission of appropriated but unspent funds in history, the first real reforms to requirements for SNAP and TANF, which will help lift people out of poverty, and real reforms to the permitting process, which will streamline major infrastructure and energy projects and cut the red tape that are holding them back. Those are reforms, by the way, that my friends did not support. Now, those were things that were put in the bill by Republicans and negotiated for. Sadly, they weren't willing to work with us on those, and it was only the threat of the debt ceiling that actually brought them to the table. It's a responsible thing to do to pass this legislation, and in the end, the American people will be better off for it. I do want to be clear on something, Mr. Speaker. This is not the end of House Republicans' fight for necessary fiscal reforms. We have more than $31 trillion in debt. Programs like Medicare and Social Security, which are the bedrock of our safety net, are growing in an unsustainable manner. And for too long, this Congress has seen fit to just allow mandatory programs to eat up more and more of our budget. Indeed, the President himself refused to talk about those programs. Mandatory programs are now more than 2/3 of what we spend in any given year. Without real reforms to these programs, we'll have no chance to right the fiscal imbalance the country finds itself in. Republicans are committed to preserving America's status as the greatest nation in the world. And to do that, we must get serious about the national debt. But at the end of the day, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This bill, Mr. Speaker, is that first step. Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time.